I think that people will see that Fire Country is different from any firefighting show on television. We're not rescue of the week. We're not fire of the week. Um,
Hmm.
First of all, this department is an all risk department. So we're not just going to be fighting wildland fires.
Fire Country premieres on CBS October 7th. This is your second series with the network, first being SEAL Team, both of which can feel very intense when it comes to filming. So, what attracted you to your role in Fire Country?
It was just this world, it was
Yeah.
exploring this world that was kind of just so close to me, and what it's like growing up in a small town. And like, I always just loved how those relationships are so intertwined. It makes a lot of these incidents that much more personal. And so the character dynamics are really fascinating. And I also think that, like, it's something that's just timely, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just California that's on fire. It's a lot of parts of the world. It's the whole West. It's, so many people are having to go through this. People are like, what do you hope to get out of this series? And, obviously the easy answer is lots of seasons and whatever. But the biggest thing I think that will really resonate with me and bring me the most joy is, one, bringing awareness to important situations for firefighters. And um, whether that's PTSD things or the organizations that support them and support their families, when firefighters are lost doing the job. um, and then beyond that, you know I think this having this element of having inmate firefighters and regular, rural blue collar working class firefighters, and seeing people from two completely different walks of life come together with one goal, and that is to save homes, to save lives. As a country, like, there's a lot of division. I think that it's important to remember that we're all humans, and we need some of that positive, you know, that positive message of, and going like, wow, we really can all come together. Like, we might all be different, right? But, like, we actually are all the same, and allowing the audience to experience that.
So, would you say there are a couple of firefighter dramas out now on network television? Would you say the fact that inmate firefighters working together with regular firefighters, that's the thing that stands out the most with Fire Country, or is it something else?
I think there's a lot of things, honestly. I think that Fire Country, I think that people will see that Fire Country is different from any firefighting show on television. We're not rescue of the week. We're not fire of the week. Um,
Hmm.
you know, First of all, this department is an all risk department. So we're not just going to be fighting wildland fires. And so we'll be showing the full scope of what firefighters do on the job. And then the big thing is, like, this is really like a serialized character drama. And, so it has a lot of those amazing elements that you get from whatever it's cable or whatever shows they are, where you're really getting to invest in these characters and explore their journey. And really, there's a lot of that in this show. There's a lot of heart. Um, there's a lot of, like, redemption throughout the story. Um, and I think visually it looks unlike any firefighting show, right? Just because of the nature of where we're shooting. It's rural. We're seeing small town and tons of outdoor landscapes and just a huge scope.
And you play Bodhi, the lead character. He's a good guy who has made some bad decisions, and we'll see that in the series premiere. But how would you describe your character, and what can fans expect from his arc?
Like you said, I think he also brings a positive message that people make mistakes, right? Like, we're all human, and maybe, don't deserve to be looked down upon or doing the time that they're doing, or, it brings up a lot of those issues as well, right? Which are important to society right
Mm-hmm.
now. And I think that his arc will show the journey of what it's like to basically have this fall from grace and be this sort of small town all-American kid who, lived through some tragic incidents that ultimately led to his sort of spiral down. And I think that watching him go through that and then hopefully eventually coming out the other side and being on that journey will be an amazing arc. Um, in the beginning, he's very internal because I think, being in prison, it's isolating. Even though you're with people, you're alone and you're watching your outside world continue on without you while you're stuck inside. Um, and I think, we'll also show how that changes you, how that changes a person, right? Like there are
Mhm.
certain things that people go through in life that significantly change them. And, you know, for some folks, it might be a military experience. It could be a single event that happens to you. But certainly, prison is something that when you get out, there's clearly um, some major adjusting and work that has to be done to be able to step back into society.
And I imagine with a role like this, there had to be a lot of training. So, what was that experience like?
It's constantly physical, right? I think for me, like wearing all the stuff and holding all the tools is like kind of my armor. And a lot of the actors who I get to work with in the show believe in the same, right? It's like when you put that stuff on, it's sort of like when Superman puts on his costume, like he becomes Superman. And that's really how this is. It's like you sort of become these characters in that moment. And, we're fortunate to have some really amazing consultants who work on the show with us who have a lot of firefighting experience,
Yeah.
some of them 30 plus years each. Um, and so you get to look at those folks every day and sort of check yourself and look back and go like, okay, do I look like I'm doing this the right way? How would you carry this? How would you hold yourself? How would you approach the situation physically and mentally? And what would your tone be? And so, I feel like it's important to incorporate all those aspects because at the end of the day, obviously we're shooting a dramatic, fictionalized television series, right?
Mhm.
Um, but we are depicting a job that people do in real life. And so it's, you have to walk a fine line of honoring those people, which is always the first and foremost important thing for me. Um, and then doing it in a way that we can do episodes and people want to watch.
And since there's so much action on the show, and you mentioned the physicality of it, what was the biggest challenge filming a series like Fire Country?
Just adapting to, SEAL Team was extremely physical for me. And I changed my physicality for that show to prepare for it. And so I've tried to maintain that into this show as well, just so that, as long as like so that my body and my conditioning never becomes a detriment to the job that I'm doing, so I can purely focus on the acting. And so if I'm in the best physical shape that I can be in, then I can purely work on the mental side of the job.
Mhm.
um, and so for me it's constant training. It's gotta admit it's not easy on this show because I'm an EP and
Mhm.
am involved in so many different facets of the show. Like I'm certainly busy 24/7. So it's finding that hour a day to get into the gym and get that work in. But for me, it's all part of it, right? Like it's all part of the job.
And you're from California. You know all about the fires in that area. Did you ever think about becoming a firefighter when you were growing up?
I thought about volunteering at my local department.
Okay.
All my buddies who I grew up with, tons of them at least volunteer there, and many of them work for departments, whether they're city, Cal Fire, for forestry, like a lot of different departments. And I knew that I was, I've been working since I was 12 or whatever, when I was still carrying around my lunchbox to school. And so I I was sort of already on that path. And so I think doing it as a full-time job was something that I never really thought about before, but certainly volunteering at least, um, and just to honestly, more than anything, to give back to my community.
Mhm. Absolutely. I can understand that. And the last question for me before I let you go is, you mentioned along with Fire Country, you're on SEAL Team.
Mhm.
And by this time this airs, SEAL Team season 6 will be streaming on Paramount Plus. So how has it been balancing, you starring in Fire Country, being the executive producer, as you mentioned, and then also starring in SEAL Team? So how is it balancing all those things?
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot, man. It's not easy, but you know, I know my wife looked at me like I was a little bit crazy when I told her I was going to do both. She's like, okay, so we have no break this year. But
Mm,
thankfully, what kind of worked out was that because SEAL Team is on Paramount Plus now, their shooting
yeah.
schedule is different, right? So it's not in the same cycle as the network cycle. And right after I finished filming the pilot of Fire Country, and I got to shoot
Okay.
SEAL Team during that sort of break while we were waiting to hear if we got a series order and then waiting to start the series in July. So I got to kind of wedge it right into that block. Um, so I got lucky, honestly. I think a lot of folks were like, this is never going to work out.
Well, I will say I got to watch the pilot of Fire Country. I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping it gets more episodes, more seasons. So I think you guys did a really great job with it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's different, right? I mean, it's different than other
Yeah.
firefighting shows, and I think we're constantly going to be developing those characters like that, like these card turns and these reveals, and finding more about these people, and really sort of allowing the audience to tune in, if they do randomly, and be entertained and be able to enjoy an episode, but at the same time, those who are the diehard fans will be able to go on an amazing journey with these people. And being a fan of television in general, that's what I enjoy as a viewer,
Mhm.
right? Like I love becoming so invested that I have to watch 4 episodes of something in a row, and I can't shut it off before I go to bed. And
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah.
so a lot of that we're going to be throwing in there because that's what I love. I don't know. It's what gets me going, and that's what I want to include.
Well, Max, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Again, congratulations on Fire Country and continued success to you.